Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game 3 in a best of 3 series, or excuse me, not a best of 3, Game 3 in a series between IMMvp versus Slayer's MMA. Now, the first thing some of you guys may notice is, hey, there's no recording option or there's no 1080p option. What's going on? Well, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to see if I can record in 720p at 60 frames a second. It should help with some of the jitter and some of the lag that some of you guys say does happen from time to time. Hopefully, it does turn out a little bit better. And I'm also trying this because I'm applying to be part of the MLG casting team. And hopefully, if I am part of the MLG casting team, I'll be able to get some of those exclusive replays, cast those games for you, post them up on MLG TV and also my channel as well. And then perhaps, if I am good enough, be able to travel with part of MLG and cast something on maybe the Blue or whatever channel or whatever stream doesn't have Artosis, Tasteless, DJ Wheat, and day 9. Anyways, we currently have MMA spawning as the red Terran player at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, IMMvp is the blue Terran player, and both players opting to go for a front door build. So barracks should be coming in just a moment. There you go, both sides getting up that barracks, and it looks like both players, and we'll see whether or not they try to go for a fast command center, or if they go for perhaps a more of a tech build. Both players perhaps know each other's strategies already. Terran versus Terran is one of those matchups where it does really highly depend on the maps and the matchup, as we now see a supply depot being added on the front door here, and an SCV is starting to scout. Now, one of the important things to note, though, is that as soon as your opponent does start a supply depot here, and it normally means they are not going for early gas, which also means that because they have that earlier supply depot here and they're not going for early gas, you can also expand right behind it. Taking a look at IMMvp right now, IMMvp pretty much doing the same exact thing his opponent is doing, but now going for gas. So very interesting build that he decided to put down the supply depot here. He is getting a little bit of a later gas, and this actually may work out well for him. If MVP had actually scouted earlier. This is one of those situations where if his opponent had actually scouted earlier, it may have actually been better. The SCV now kind of trapped in the back corner. Is it going to be enough? Trying to get up the ramp, will not be able to do so, as the refinery has been completed, now starting to harvest some gas, but there is already a command center being built off over here on the top left side. Now, there are only a limited number of harassment options, Banshees being one of them, Hellions being another. It looks like a tech lab is being added, so it's going to be perhaps a Reaper expansion here on Shatter Temple. IMMvp already about halfway done with this command center. Meanwhile, down over here, as soon as this tech lab is done, we may see the training of a Reaper and the building of a command center. And the command center is being built off a little bit far away. This is a strategy that I've seen used more by Rough, where you use Reapers in order to try to take down these destructible rocks with the help and then get that command center early on. I think at a 12-minute mark in the game, I actually saw Ruff mine out the gold mineral patches with the use of mules. So he was able to establish this command center here, able to mine it out. He also had another command center here, so it didn't look too strange. And then he just lifted off the orbital command, landed it over here. He wasn't done harvesting gas, but it still worked out well. We'll see if MMA strategy is exactly that. It doesn't look like he's trying to clear out those rocks at all. So not quite sure why he's building it so far away. Perhaps to just try to hide it. But hiding it is not going to really do that much, as IMMvp does have his orbital command up and running as well. It may call in a mule and then lift off and land over here in just a moment. Reaper now looking across the map, trying to figure out what's going on. Marine's going to have a very difficult time trying to take down these destructible rocks, as another Marine establishing control in the center. Now you can see that the orbital command is planning to land over here, interestingly enough. So trying to establish a very, very fast expansion at the gold mineral patches. Now, the Reapers do have those D8 charges. Those D8 charges deal a lot of damage to destructible rocks. Very, very effective. Too bad it doesn't work on units, as the DPS is much, much higher off of that D8 charge than, say, that dual Gauss rifle pistol, especially. especially against non-light units. Back over here, you can now see that SCVs are being trained. There is one mule being added, more SCVs being brought over as well. It looks like it's just going to sit here for a little bit of time and then lift off and land when the moment is right. Meanwhile, MMA now doing the same strategy as well. I believe if MMA had trained up a second Reaper, that would have been better timing to clear out those rocks. I have seen the timing be absolutely perfect. Right when that orbital command center is done, you can go ahead and land it. Mules will be called in just a moment, and most likely MMA will call in mules over here. It looks like this orbital command will be able to establish its new location in just a moment, as both sides playing a very heavy macro game, now trying to mine out these gold minerals. So gold mineral patches are currently being mined away. We'll see how this works in the long run. Marines are now just trying to hold back any large waves of units. As you can now see, MVP gonna be landing. All of these SCVs now will once again be returning and trying to mine more minerals as well. Harvester advantage. 30 compared to 28. MVP with a slight advantage in both army and in the number of Marines, but that should not hold out for very long, as both players are going to be racking or just transitioning into very, very heavy unit production. You can see the Marines stim pack now being trained, 2 reactors being added, a factory also being built down over here, and going into double engineering bay for double weapons upgrades. So I believe MMA, if he's able to time his attacks right with that double engineering bay upgrades, he may be able to pull an advantage of some sort, as MVP already has level 1 weapons upgrade more than halfway completed. Now, I believe, not quite sure what the reminiscences of that was. That could be an SCV. I see the little drill right there. So an SCV now taken down. A high ground supply depot being built over here. So a true scout farm, to steal a term from Warcraft 3, a true scout farm over here. It can raise and lower itself, but that's all it can really do. A group of Marines now pushing across the center portion of the map. The Marines do not have stim, will not be able to keep up with those Reapers, but there is also a large number of Marines back over here as well, as both sides just training up more and more units. Level 1 weapons upgrade now completed, or will pretty much be completed, and this is going to be a bad time, especially as IMMvp has Metavax, and with Metavax and level 1 weapons upgrade, I think he could have taken the lead. The only issue is that MMA does have stim, while MVP does not yet have stim. Metavacs are being added, armory also being built to ensure that level 2 weapons upgrade and weapons upgrades for the infantries can be started as soon as they are ready, and we'll see what these players will be doing. We can see that MVP already building an additional command center at the 12 o'clock location. No command center down over here just quite yet, but as I say that, MMA was floating very close to 400 minerals for a while, so he could have easily gotten that if he had chosen or decided to. You can now see the SCV once again in position, waiting for those 400 minerals to start building that command center, as there are also a lot of scout farms in multiple locations. I like the use of scout farms. It kind of gives a really strong advantage for Terran players, as those scout farms are a pretty easy investment. You can raise and lower them, decent number of hit points, and really just gives you a lot of information if your opponent does end up trying to attack them. Marines and Metavacs, 5 Metavacs in the air. SCVs are going to be back over here. Is it going to be enough? Are both sides going to be able to engage? That is a key question, as the Marines are now trying to get in position. Who's going to come out on top is a key question, as the Marines are just trying to reinforce. MVP has 1-0 upgrades, but 1-1 upgrades for MMA, and that 1-1 upgrade may have been the serious difference here, as units are just completely getting devastated, and this 1-1 upgrades compared to 1-0, and you can see how big of a difference it truly is. Another Metavac being shot out of the sky, and the army advantage definitely in MMA's favor, as he has a 20 food advantage now, shooting up onto the high ground, and we'll see how this is going to work. The defender's advantage now definitely MVP's, but will he be able to stick around for very long? I do not think so. If he should perhaps just rally back to the center and get more of his units to push together. Siege tanks, siege tech now being added, will not be done for 80 seconds, so that is going to be a good sigh of relief for MVP, as a siege tank in siege mode would just be devastating to MVP right now. MMA, I'm going to perhaps try to position off over here. The Marines are fully healed. This one siege tank, for some reason, returning back home. A lot of scout supply depots as MMA now going to push in with a lot of Marines and maybe able to snipe down this orbital command. The orbital command, if it gets taken down, is going to be a very, very heavy loss. SCVs are getting destroyed. Marines are both sides trying to battle it out, trying to fight it out. Who's going to come out on top, as it looks like the sheer number of units and the finishing upgrades from IMMvp going to allow this squadron to fight back. But a lot of units were dealt and destroyed there. MVP now down to 28 SCVs compared to 44. That is not good news, but MMA is slipping in terms of his macro, doesn't have an orbital command over here, and that may be a bit of an issue. Now, after these level 2 weapons upgrades and armor upgrades are completed, we should be transitioning into level 3 in just a moment. We'll see that because the siege tanks were not completed, that really was the downfall. If that siege tech was started perhaps 60-70 seconds earlier, the siege tank could have sit off over here, dealt a lot of damage to those Marines as they came in, and that would have been a real game changer. Now, back over here, it looks like a drop is going to be coming in from MVP. MVP dropping and putting in pressure at the main base. Meanwhile, the main force attacking over here, going to clean up some supply depots. Marines are able to come back in, snipe, and finish down as the medevac was unable to keep up all of those units, as siege tanks are now in position to start blasting away a lot of those SCVs. And wow, one siege tank with a lot of kills there, and now a drop happening perhaps at the natural expansion here. MMA Marines are now going to just try to get in position. Are they going to fight back over here is the key question. It looks like the drop will go in unhindered, and MVP is going to have a lot of precious seconds to try to unload that many Marines. The Marines simply just running into the group, going to snipe down the medevac and finish everything else off. This one orbital command able to stick around and be alive still. 123 food versus 116. Unit count 39 harvesters compared to 42 mules have been destroyed. Level 3 weapons upgrade now being completed, as we can now see IMMvp just starting level 2. So his 1-1 Marines against 2-2 Marines, that is going to be very, very difficult, as his Marines will be dealing essentially 7 damage per attack after you account for armor compared to the 5. And that is going to be a really large change, as the Marines and the siege tanks are both getting in position. Who's going to come out? The siege tanks are now sieging up, and this is going to be a crazy, crazy battle. Are the Marines going to be able to finish off the tanks in time? Marines continuing this push, and there is the well won, or the Korean GG. IMMvp losing to Slayers MMA here on Shattered Temple. Now, this is not a best of 3 series. I still have some more games to cast. The game will be posted on Machinima Realm tomorrow or later today, depending on when you watch it. I'll try to create a link, or if you just want to search for it, it's pretty much easy to search. I do keep a similar naming convention, even when it is on Realm. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. A very, very nice, well-played game by MMA, beating IMMvp.